Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living Well with Dr. Sheila. I am your host, Dr. Sheila Craig Whiteman, and I am here to present you different topics on health and wellness so that you can live your best life. This has been my passion throughout most of my adult life is giving information to the public so that we can all live better and live well. So, our topic today is about immune health, which is really an interesting topic right now because I think for all of us, it would be beneficial for us to get more information on how to boost our immune health. So, we have a guest here today who is going to talk about just that subject. Just a reminder, you can, of course, listen to this podcast or this show on Chromecast and iTunes. And if you like to watch, you can watch on Google TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and also through the KP Media app. I am on the KP Media Network and on the SCW channel. So all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest for today, and we're going to welcome her to the studio. Hello, Amanda. This is Amanda Elise Love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you're introduced. I just put the whole name in there.
So, I love it. I love it.
Yes. So welcome to the studio. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So today we're going to talk about immune health. But I think let's start talking first a little bit about you and how did you start your journey into even trying to find out more about immune health and the immune system?
My journey, it's a pretty long journey actually. Since I was a baby. I was born 6 weeks, actually before I was born 6 weeks early. And right away, I was dealing with a lot of immune issues. I was constantly sick, like every couple weeks. And so it was this constant cycle of what's going on with my immune system. I was on so many antibiotics as a child, and the doctors were like, well, you have a sore throat, you have congestion. I pretty much ran that every single 4 weeks. And then eventually I was told, well, okay, we don't really know what to do with you type of thing. My immune system was pretty bad. And I was missing so much school and stuff. So eventually I was held back from and stuff. And my parents divorced when I was 6 years old. And so I had this trauma going on. So that was probably depleting my immune system. And I had some learning difficulties and stuff. So I had all this stuff going on. And with my immune system, it just eventually I moved out of California. And I was 14. And that actually started to get a little bit better with my immune system, a little bit. It started to push back how much I was getting sick and stuff. Because before that, it wasn't 4 weeks. It was probably every 2 weeks that I was getting sick. And then it pushed it back to every 4 or 6 weeks, sometimes 2 months. But eventually I completed high school, did a personal training program. But the problem was I was still getting sick all the time. And at that point, I was like, I wanted to do more schooling. I wanted to do more education, go into the nutrition more and stuff. But also, I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm always constantly sick. And you can't work if you're sick all the time. And you can't hold down a job and you can't go out with family and friends. And so I missed a lot of social time up into my early 20s and stuff. And I was only at 20 years old. I turned 20 like 2 weeks after that personal training program. And they said, well, they didn't know what was going on. The doctors still didn't know. And I was like, all of a sudden, I started to go to the gym. I started crashing, taking hours, naps, hour and a half, hour, like 90-minute naps. And then I would wake up and I was still feeling exhausted. And I wasn't getting that deep, restful REM sleep. I would get 9-10 hours of sleep at night. And I was just like, not ever feeling rested. And I eventually had pain, excruciating pain down my neck, my back, my arms and stuff. And in 2010, this is about like 10 months later in the fall, I went to one of the top rheumatology places in Mesa, Arizona, and they said, oh, you have fibromyalgia. And that was my start of my journey is, okay, what is fibromyalgia? Like, how can I really improve my immune system? And how can I get back to living a life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can understand that journey for real. I can understand that. So that's interesting. So you have actually had almost fibromyalgia symptoms and issues even as a child?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I didn't have the pain and stuff with fibro, but I did have I had headaches, daily headaches. I was just a lot of fatigue, a lot of immune issues. There's a recent research saying that this just came out for people who could look this up and stuff that's saying, oh, they believe fibromyalgia is likely an autoimmune issue. And I totally feel like that's still, I feel like that's a big step in the right direction because a lot of times with fibromyalgia, a lot of people are saying, well, maybe it's neurological, or we get sent to our primary doctors, or we get sent to like a rheumatologist and stuff. And now I recently, in the last year, I called the rheumatologist went to, and they're now not accepting people with fibromyalgia. They're just not. So and this is across the country and stuff. But I mean, like, so I feel like, I really do feel like fibromyalgia has to do with the immune system. I really do, because if your immune system is so stressed out, so weak and stuff, then you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be fatigued. You're not going to be able to sleep. And a lot of times the big things with fibromyalgia is we're in so much pain. We're so exhausted. And I always tell people with fibromyalgia, it's not like you're exhausted and it's going to be like, oh, I could take a nap. It's more like the exhaustion so overwhelms you that you can't even think. You can't. And a lot of times people are overwhelmed and they're so stressed out, they can't sleep and they're not getting that deep, restful sleep. So.
And so that being said, because you said we're actually talking about the immune system.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? I'll even go that basic. So your immune system is what?
Our immune system is our body system where we're trying to fight off anything that's happening in our outside world. So like our stresses, infections, and like environmental things could be in the world. I mean, like there's so many things that our immune system is constantly fighting off these things. But if you're not take your immune system, if you're not eating right, or you're not working out, or you're not, I think a lot of times we think exercise is awesome. I think that's a big thing. But I mean, with our immune system, what else are we doing besides doing the main two things that we always think about is exercise, and we always think about like food, right? What is your mindset? What are you stressing out with today? I mean, a lot of times we're in this world. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're in this world where we are so stressed out, and we're bombarded by the news. We're bombarded by people's opinion of what we should do, what we shouldn't do.
Right.
I mean, like we're bombarded with like stuff, and some of it's in our control, some of it's out of our controls. But what is in our control is saying, okay, I can keep up to today what is going on with my state and stuff. I mean, I can't control what's going on in some other country,
Right.
but I can care about it, and I could, so I'm up to date and stuff. But I mean, like I have a friend and he's in Australia, and they just keep getting locked down. I feel horrible for him and everybody in Australia, but I can't control that.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't put that stress on myself. I think that's the big thing. Are we putting all these stresses of the other countries on us? I mean, I could say, oh, I'm so sorry about that, or I could be supportive about that, but
Right.
or you could always raise money or help do something like charity wise to help with situations that are going on in this world that we know are going on. But sometimes you have to like detach, which I think a lot of times we don't even realize we're bringing all this stress into our lives, because it's so automatic. We see it on Facebook, and then we start to read it, and then we're like, it's an endless cycle. So you have to realize it's depleting your immune system. It's taking a lot out of you, and you sometimes don't even realize it. How many people have the news on all the time, especially if they're older?
Right.
I mean, I had a grandma who passed, and she had the news on constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that generation. And it's at some point you hear the same thing over and over and over. Then how is that serving you? What can you control in your life today?
So you're saying that to protect your immune system, stress, managing your stress is a really main component.
I think honestly, I feel like if you're stressed, I mean, you could eat good, you could take all the supplements and stuff, but it takes over everything else in life. And it's stress, not just with what's going on in the world, but like what is going on in your personal life that maybe you don't know. Maybe you're pushing it to the side and saying, well, I'll deal with that next week, or I'll deal with that later. Maybe it's a friendship. Maybe you need to just set some boundaries of, maybe you have some friends that you've changed, or maybe they're just not the best friends to be around. Maybe you need to set some distance or some boundaries and stuff with those friends. It's really putting people into your life that can uplift you and stuff, and then setting those boundaries with people who are like, well, I'm great. I mean, they're great to have, but maybe they're not the best person to be around all the time.
Right. And there's so many. I mean, chronic stress, I just did an actual course on this, because chronic stress can kill you. It really can.
I feel like that's how it is with fibromyalgia. I feel like a lot of people with fibromyalgia, I think it's like everybody, I think a lot of it is that they're type A people and they want to do everything and help out every single buddy. But it's like, well, what are you doing to help your health and stuff and take care of you? I think that's a big thing. And there's this good book, and it's called Boundaries. And I feel like we all need to set these boundaries of people need to be in our life. Mm-hmm. But we have certain people that are close with, and then some people, maybe they're have to do with business or our jobs or just for fun, friends that are fun, and sometimes they overlap and stuff. And then we have relatives, and a lot of times I think we have with our relatives, and I've had to recently set some boundaries too with this. But I mean, your relatives, it's a harder thing because you're like, well, they're blood related, so I have to talk to them, or I have to, or they're a parent, or they're a sibling, or they're somebody. And you don't have to be, you could, I hope you forget, if whatever they've done, you forgive them, because I think that's a big thing, because that depletes our immune system, forgiving them and stuff. But that doesn't mean that you forget.
Right.
You get to a point where you're like, well, I'm going to not be super close with them, still maybe have a little bit of a relationship with them. But sometimes they don't get what you're doing, or they don't, you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. Well, too, they say family, you can't pick your family. Like, if you could, you wouldn't even be friends with half your family members, because the dynamics are not even close to who you are, what you do. And our family, families tend to be a little bit more critical.
Right.
Well, and good friends, families and good friends tend to be a little bit more critical, so they can add in stress. So back to the immune system, though, because we talked about then the importance of stress management on making sure that you are keeping your immune system healthy. But what other things can you do to fortify your immune system?
I always say, what are you eating? I think a lot of times I think everybody thinks they're like, it's so funny to me. People are always like, well, I eat healthy. Okay, that's very vague statement. Like, I don't know what you mean by eat healthy. Like, a lot of times I think you find out people say they eat healthy, and then you find out, oh, they're eating maybe a little more sugar than they should, or maybe they're not eating enough protein, or maybe they're not, and like they're not eating, maybe they're eating more of something. Because I never say you cannot have something unless you have food sensitivities. That's a given, or you have these health issues where it's really important that you stay away from those foods and stuff. But I mean, I have cookies, I'll have ice cream. they're always allergy friendly, but I mean, like, what you're eating plays a huge part in like your immune system. So for me personally, I was constantly sick. I had sore throats, congestion. And so I had a wellness chiropractor, this is 10 years ago, test me for food sensitivities, found out I had a gluten sensitivity, soy sensitivity, egg sensitivity, and dairy sensitivity. Very high, highest in his practice at the time. I had 2 genes predispose me to that gluten sensitivity, one from each parent. And I think a lot of times with our health and our immune system, if we get rid of those foods, then we start to feel better. Our immune system starts to be like, oh, it's not going to attack our body. It's not going to attack our body. And like foods like dairy could show up congestion. You could be sick. You could feel horrible. Gluten can give you headaches and stuff, and it depletes your energy. And a lot of people with fibromyalgia have fatigue. So I mean, but I always tell people when you're getting rid of foods, it's sort of like, it's not just one day I'm going to get rid of this food and it's going to fix me. And I tell people you have to at least be off of it for 4 to 6 weeks and slowly start to add these foods back in. I think a lot of times it's the big thing to go gluten-free, but gluten-free is amazing, but there's so much stuff out there right now that's pretty horrible that's gluten-free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm gluten. Yeah, I just had testing too. So yeah, I don't eat gluten, dairy, grains, sugar. No. So I know the journey that it takes.
It's a hard journey. I mean, it's not like it's easy. Like, I mean, when you first get off of the foods, you're gonna have some slip ups. It's human nature. I think a lot of times, if you're gonna do it, you have to commit. I think a lot of times people commit, and then I always say one little molecule of gluten can stay in your body up to weeks, up to months. So you really can't cheat. And it's gotten easier. Like, there wasn't this many different things like in the past 10 years when I first started.
Yeah, but the gluten substitutes, if you read the ingredients, some of the ingredients, you might as well just eat the gluten, because the ingredients are so extra.
Really, like, if people want the substitutes once in a while, it's not going to kill them. But I feel like go back to like how we used to eat, like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Like, I mean, go back to vegetables, go back to protein. I mean, like, depending on I actually have, I have protein, but some people don't want to have protein, but that's a different subject.
Well, protein is in meat, because they do protein substitutes. But they don't eat meat.
Don't do substitutes for like, the substitutes for like eggs is pretty awful. And stuff. If that's probably the one thing I would say, if you could have eggs, have eggs.
Right, because that is a good protein source.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like it's a good protein source for me. I've tried it a few times and I just haven't felt the greatest. And it was one of my high ones and stuff. So, but I mean, like, I really don't. I mean, if you want to think about it, like, if a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people really should not be on the gluten or the dairy, because look how many, like, look how bad it's processed and the manufacturing and all this and stuff that we are dealing with right now. I mean, like, it's not as good as it was probably even 20 years ago, 30 years.
Right. Well, I
Yeah,
think that's probably why there's so many food sensitivities from a lot of people. It's because of the way things are processed now, and also the additives that are put into a lot of foods. And there's, unless you're growing your own food or doing farmers
right.
market, or you find a good organic delivery service or whatever, you're going to have issues trying to find food that's really clean, even if you go straight vegetables and meat.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally agree.
yeah. So, okay, so stress is a big one. And then food is a big one for autoimmune. And what other things can you suggest for the audience to boost their immune system?
I feel like one thing you should do is get out in nature, I find. If people aren't are you touching the ground with your feet every day? Are you at least doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to get out in nature because we get away from our cell phones, we get away from everything that's like stressing us out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if we don't deal with that, if we don't go out in nature, we get caught up in like things that maybe we shouldn't be caught up in, or we work, right? So are you taking time to once a week get out in nature, or are you taking downtime, right? I think a lot of times when somebody says to us, oh, maybe you should watch a movie, or you should relax, or maybe you just play with your grandkids or your nieces and nephews, and stuff like that. I mean, like, are we doing something fun a week? Because a lot of times we're go go go,
Mm-hmm.
and when we play with our kids or our grandkids or our nieces or nephews, that makes us happy. It gives us a sense of joy, and
Right.
it's not depleting our immune system. It's giving us happiness, and we're like, oh, let's do this next week, or should we? I mean, a lot of times I think we are the people who are like, oh, I love to spend more time with my family, but I don't have the time. And we have to make the time, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't love like spending time with your family, maybe it's with a friend, maybe you're going out to lunch. What are you doing relationship wise that can build you up?
Right.
And
So,
you make
right.
those and then when you make like, or maybe you're spending time with a friend and they're into their health also and stuff. So maybe you're going for a walk together. So you're getting your social time, but you're also getting that time, that exercise, that movement to build up the immune system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you both like to cook like healthy meals together, or batch cook, or do something. So you're killing like whatever that saying is, right?
Two birds with
Birds
one
with one
stone.
stone or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, what are you doing health wise to build up your immune system? Are you eating healthy? Are you having citrus fruit? Are you having foods, mushrooms? Are you mixing up what you're eating to get all the nutrients that you need into your body?
Oh,
Right.
so question there. So for building your immune system, what actually are some good foods that are the most benefit for building your immune system? And I know you should eat a variety of everything,
Right.
but some foods are more beneficial than others.
Mushrooms are a good choice, I would say. A variety of different mushrooms. Getting your getting in your greens and stuff. That's like kale, spinach. I think oranges, citrus fruit is very good. I think a lot of times when we get sick is when we're like, okay, I gotta throw everything. I gotta get all my immune stuff going. I gotta eat well. It's really, really important to be doing it all year long and stuff. I feel like a lot of times, I think a lot of times fall comes up. If you're in the US, fall comes up, fall's coming up, winter's coming up, right? And so we sort of at the last minute we are like, oh, I got to start taking this supplement, a prebiotic, probiotic, and then we're like, maybe I take a multivitamin, and then it's like, okay, but how are you eating? Because sugar depletes your immune system.
So, repeat that, please. Repeat that.
Sugar depletes your immune system. So if you're having so much sugar like every day, I mean, really, you really shouldn't have any sugar or very little, but we're all human. We all have sugar times when we're stressed out, we have sugar. I mean, it's a hard thing to quit. But I think if we're not, what are you doing every day that has sugar in it? Like a lot of times I find with sugar, it's in every single little thing. So are you having, let's just say, are you having cereal? Okay, look at the cereal. And a lot of times with cereal, there's so much sugar in it. And then you just keep, then there's a little milk left, of course. So then you just keep pouring the more cereal. So you probably have more than one serving of the cereal.
Yeah. A serving of cereal is really 3 servings.
Right? And then it's really like, that's why I don't even bother having cereal anymore.
Yeah, I don't eat it. Yeah.
I mean, because it's just carbohydrates, and it's very, very addicting and stuff, even though it might be like not even a sugar, like it might not even have that much sugar into it, but it's carbohydrates.
Right. Well, yeah. And when you look at
when you pour on the 2% milk or whatever milk that you're pouring on, that has sugar. And then I mean, and then sometimes people put like sugar on top of their cereal, or they put sweet and low, or whatever they do. I mean, what can you take out of your, like, what can you change today? Like one thing. I always tell people, one thing. Maybe it's the cereal. Maybe you should have some protein, some vegetables and stuff. Maybe it's breakfast, or maybe it's that ice cream that you have at night at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. When instead of having the ice cream, maybe you should just go to bed earlier.
Or have it once a week, because you can always use it as a treat.
Yeah, I think once a week is exactly once a week. Or say, I had a Soul Out Wild podcast that she was talking about. She tells her clients, oh, do you really want it, or can you wait the next day?
Right.
And then it just keeps, and then you ask yourself the next day, do I really need to have it? And it just gets, or maybe you just have it like, if you have some special occasion, like a birthday party or something, maybe you say, oh, maybe I'll plan to have it that day. And
right, yeah, because you don't really want to feel deprived, but you want to monitor how much of it that you're having, for sure.
But are you sitting down while you're eating it? I think is the big thing, because if we're not, if we're eating the sugar stuff, we could just eat it. And are we sitting down with it? Are we actually tasting and enjoying it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or most of the time we're distracted while we're eating that sugary thing. So then we eat more and more of it. And then we're like, oops, I ate 6 cookies when I really only should have had 1 cookie or 2 cookies.
Right. According to the quote unquote serving sizes. Yeah.
The serving size, I mean, in America, it's just crazy that our serving sizes are so huge and stuff. Even if you get a healthy meal, like, it's sometimes I'm like, okay, this could go for a second meal.
Right, which is what, a lot of people who are becoming more aware of healthy eating actually do. They only eat if you go to a restaurant, because it's usually restaurant meals. If you go to a restaurant, you will not eat the whole thing. And it depends on what it is. If you go to some of the more expensive restaurants, they give you a smaller portion and you're actually like, I'm still hungry. So it all really depends. But I did want to mention something because you had talked about sugar and serving sizes and making sure that you eat the minimal amount actually. But just to make sure that people do realize that you have to read the ingredients. So you really have to read ingredients, sugar and wheat, whey, milk, etc. A lot of common allergens are in almost everything. It's in almost everything. And of course,
everything.
Yeah. So, and sugar, sugar, if you see it in the first couple, if it's one of the first few ingredients, it's probably too much. Sugar, dextrose, all those OSEs, because they know that Americans are looking to not eat so much sugar. So then they put in some sugar, then it's some dextrose, then it's so they put in different ones but they all add up. So look at how much sugar, really look at those labels, especially if you're trying to cut back on sugar so you can still have your treat once a week.
Right.
But it's in everything. It's in condiments especially, because that's when I stopped doing sugar. I was astounded at it's in everything. Ketchup, barbecue sauce. I mean, like anything that
the sauces really get you.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
The sauces and stuff like ketchup and all of those different condiments, they really could get you.
Yeah, they will.
There's actually a lady who's created like a beet ketchup and stuff. And then there's this other company, I don't know their name, but they've created like ketchup and stuff like that. Also condiments that are like healthier.
Yeah, you can find them. Yeah, you have to find them. They are more expensive and you have to really search for them.
Yeah.
Because I do have I do have no sugar, sauces and stuff, but you're paying a premium for trying to be healthy. You are paying a premium.
Right.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think it's gotten more popular, those items and stuff, but I mean, it's still.
Well, I was going to say, maybe the price will go down then because,
I don't remember having that stuff 10 years ago, but I mean, like, maybe eventually we could have the prices go down on some of these things.
Right.
But, like, even if you get, like, dairy-free ice cream or gluten-free cookies or whatever you get, they could be they're not cheap.
Oh, no. Because I don't think they can mass produce it as much as they produce the other things. So it probably has to be produced on something separate. I'm sure it costs more for them to make.
There's so many varieties now. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Like I'm like, I can't keep up. I'm like, there's always something new out there. They have like 10 or 15 different flavors now in some of these companies. And
they do. So we are going to take just a quick commercial break here. And then we're going to be back. We're going to talk a little bit more about what you can do to strengthen your immune system. And we'll kind of recap because we've talked about a lot of things. So now we're just going to maybe put them in a little bit of order so that you can go away and really know what different types of things that you can do to boost your immune system so that you can have less illness, feel better, and of course, live well. So we will be back in just a few minutes.
Do you suffer from bladder leaks? If you have ever leaked a little when you call for exercise, help is available. 1 in 3 women experience bladder leaks in her lifetime. For a free consultation, visit our website, thepelviccoach.com.
And we are back. So that was just a little bit of information on my health coaching company. As I said, I do help, or I maybe didn't say it in this broadcast, but I do help women reduce and eliminate their bladder leaks. And I do it actually in an online coaching type program. So it's not that you have to go out, it's in the convenience of your own home. And it is at your pace as to how quickly you progress. But everybody that I've had has had some benefit from the program. So you can either reduce and eliminate those pesky bladder leaks, and that includes leaking a little bit when you cough or sneeze. That is considered bladder leaks, and leaking when exercising, along with all the other different variations, because there are many. But if you are interested in any of that information, you can visit my website, and it is thepelviccoach.com. So we are back with Amanda Love, and she is going to continue. Well, we're going to continue to discuss how you can improve your immune system. And I just want to recap, because I don't want to run out of time. I want to recap the things that we have talked about previously. And she has talked about building strong relationships, so social interaction, to help boost your immune system. She has talked about managing stress, and we talked quite a bit about managing stress because that is a big one. Chronic stress is really bad for you, and she can, Amanda can come back in after this recap and even recap it even more, because stress is really something that is very dangerous. Also, to exercise and try to incorporate exercise into your daily activity. And then our last conversation actually was about foods and how there are foods that can boost your immune system. And there are also foods that are detrimental to your body, because we actually spent the last few minutes before the break talking about sugar and how sugar is in everything and it's everywhere. But there are some products that you can get and you can still enjoy life. So we're not saying a life of deprivation or feeling bad, but we're just saying maybe adjustment to help you feel better. So that being said, what other, and I do want to back up because something had come to my mind. Because another thing that you talked about, exercise and being out in nature. Yeah. And another recommendation that I hear quite a bit is being out in the sun. Yeah, so trying to get that 30 minutes of sunlight, like really get 30 minutes of sunlight per day, because it'll help you to sleep later. Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
A lot of Americans are very low in and stuff. But if you could get out and get in nature with that 30 minutes, or just even sitting outside, if you are not in the mood to work out, which you should just go for a walk anyway, because it'll boost your immune system and stuff. But I mean, if you're locked down and you can't go out, right? But maybe you could sit outside, at least sit outside and stuff. But I mean, read a good book, decompress, make a good like flavored water since it's so hot. I was gonna say tea, but you might not want tea right now if you're in the US and it's 100 degrees like where I am.
Yeah, I'm
But
trying. Yeah, I'm trying not to drink as much tea. I love tea.
I
I
love tea
love tea.
too. I love tea too, but I was like this recently. I was like, oh, I'm not really drinking that much tea. And I'm like, oh, it's probably because it's too hot and everything. I'm just
Oh, yeah. I started doing iced tea. I'm just like, let me just put some ice in this tea. Let me brew some tea, put some ice in it, because I just love tea. So that's
but
one thing I try to cut back.
yeah. I mean, are we drinking enough water? What are you doing to take care? I mean, a lot of times I feel like if you're not drinking enough water, maybe that's why you're so tired and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
you can have tiredness, brain fog.
brain
Like you
fog,
just don't
all of
really
it.
feel, yeah, you just don't really feel like yourself. And a lot of times it is dehydration. And as you age, um, your thirst center actually does not work as well as it did.
Right.
So you don't even know that you're thirsty. You're thinking that you're pretty well hydrated, but you haven't drank anything in hours.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, and you really can't. You like, why do I just not feel right? A lot of times you just need some water.
Yeah, and I had a family member in her 80s, and she's like, I just don't like water and stuff, and I hate water. And I'm like, you're probably you're older, and you just don't like. It's like you lose that ability, even like realize you're dehydrated.
Right. Right, and you also lose sometimes some taste sensation.
Yeah.
So you need a little bit more flavoring, to make it feel like it's worth eating or drinking. But yeah, I mean, and I can understand it at 80, so you look back in her day, they didn't do flavored water. They didn't put anything in their water. They drank water. Like, period. Go in the house and drink some water.
Like, I hate water. I'm like, I don't get you because I love water.
Right. Yeah. But we have choices on what we can drink. Back in the day, there weren't a lot of choices. You didn't drink soda. You didn't drink a lot of tea. You drank water and you drank coffee, and you drink, and not the way people even drink that today. Because today you have coffee, but you got to, the caramel with pumpkin, pecan, it's like everything in the coffee. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So they were drinking just plain straight black coffee. So yeah, it's she probably is like, I've drank enough water in my lifetime. I don't want any more. Could you give me something else?
Yeah, I think a lot of times she said they would run around, they would do whatever, and nobody would bring water bottles or like anything. They don't like. She's not. I think it was just like, oh, I'm not used to doing that. Like nowadays, everyone just brings water bottles and stuff.
Well, if she's 80, they didn't have water bottles.
No,
they didn't. Yeah, no. You went to the sink and got some water. And and depending on where she grew up, because I don't know where she grew up, but my grandparents were in the South, and when I was really, really little, because they were on a farm, you would get your water from outside in the well. And as I got older, I know they had water in the house, but they didn't have it. So 80, they would have been probably 90, but still, like, times are very different. Yeah, times are very different. They didn't grow up with the conveniences that we grew up. We can take a bottle of water from whatever and pick it up and take it and put it, in our car.
Filter water and all.
I know. Yeah, they're like, filter for what? Like, why? That's what my mom said. What do you do all that for? I'm like, yeah, you do, Mom. Yeah. You actually do. But so let's see, we have about 5 or 6 minutes left, so let's talk a little bit about, because we did not talk about sleep and the importance of sleep with your immune system. So let's talk a little bit, because that's really a big one. That's up there with the stress, as within the importance category. So let's talk about sleep, and then I think we will have talked about all of the main ways that you can improve. And then you can tell us a little bit about your program too. I don't want to leave without you talking about that or what you do. So let's talk about sleep a little bit, and then we'll go on to that topic.
Yeah, so sleep is like, I feel like that's the thing that we all are like wishing we could get better. I think every single person wants their sleep to be better. I feel like in life, what are we doing for our sleep is the big question. Do we have darkening curtains to block out all the light? Maybe the light's shining in. Like, are you getting off of the screens, the computer, your phone? The blue light is not good for us. So if you really, really want to, there's glasses that you could get, and you can wear them at nighttime that blocks out the blue light, right? But I mean, are you eating before bedtime? What are you doing? What are we doing like an hour or two before bedtime? Right?
Yeah. And you do want to have that downtime. You do need downtime before that. So you should cut off your devices.
Cut off the devices. Like, I think if we're stressed out throughout the day, it's probably going to build up to nighttime where we're like, our mind's going and stuff. Take a piece of paper, write down, like, if you have, this is my problem too, but if your mind's going with like stuff, like you're a nighttime person, maybe you need to like write those ideas down an hour or two before you go to bed, so that you're not thinking about them like right as your head hits the pillow, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, and are you going to bed at the same time?
Right. Sleep hygiene. Mm-hmm.
Sleep hygiene. Like, are we going to bed at whatever time you're going to bed? You really should be going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Between 9 and 10. I always think is the best, but depending on how much sleep are you getting? Because like, if you're getting only 6 hours of sleep, then that's going to just deplete your immune system. Then that's going to start the cravings. It's going to get you into the bad habits. And then you get into this vicious cycle of not sleeping well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what are you doing? Are you going to bed at like a reasonable time?
Right.
Because a lot of times I think during the week we have our work days, so we are like, well, I have to get up at 6 o'clock because I have to help the kids. I have to get them off to school. I have to do all of this stuff. And then then we get to the weekend and we're sort of laid back with it, maybe.
Mm-hmm. With no true time schedule. Correct.
There's no true time schedule. And so then Monday you're starting the week off and it's a little harder to get up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, for sure.
I think you have to listen to your body. Sometimes you need more sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes you might have to say to yourself, well, I'm good about getting up at certain times, but a lot of times it's like, well, okay, my sleep is not been the best, right? A lot of I gotta sleep. I gotta take care of myself the next couple days, or if that means building up your immune system by eating well and stuff too, and taking supplements, but it's also getting maybe a little more sleep. Or as women, we have hormone issues, or that time of the month, if you're young, you might need a little more sleep. And it's okay to say to yourself, I'm going to take that time to sleep, or I'm going to take that time to watch a movie, or I'm going to take that time just to relax and stuff, because your immune system's is always going. And sometimes you just need to take that break.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So tell us a little bit about what do you do? Do you have a do you help people with fibromyalgia, or do you do any type of a program?
Yeah, I have a program. I'm redoing it right now. So, but I do have one-on-one services where people could actually, well, you would start with a 30-minute discovery call just so I learn more about you. This is a free phone call, so I see where you're at and what you want to do and stuff. And then we would talk about my services. But I help people with fibromyalgia because I really want people to realize you can get better with fibromyalgia. You just have to realize your health is a priority. And I think a lot of times we don't make our health a priority. And that's why I help people with like accountability, supplements, lifestyle changes, mindset, and like getting back to the food choices and stuff, things that maybe they haven't thought of, but are do, right?
And how do people contact you?
People could contact me. So with my website, there's a calendar where you could schedule that free 30-minute phone call. And my website's amandaliselove.com. And of course, they could always listen to the podcast which is also Fibromyalgia Real Solutions with Amanda Love. So those are that's 2 ways. And then the last way I would always
because we don't want to run out of time. We have like probably 10 seconds.
Is a free sleep guide, and that's also my website.
Fabulous. All right, well, Amanda Elise Love, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure. I think we have learned so much about how different ways that we can improve our immune system. Until next time, everyone, I am on every Thursday live from 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on KP Media and the SCW channel. You all take care. Thank you, Elise, for being my guest, and hopefully people will reach out to you if needed. Bye-bye, everybody.